Hello everyone, it's Old Guardian here. Many Hearthstone expansions have an intricate storyline attached to them. We had the murder mystery and murder of Castle Nathria, we had the journey below the sea in Voyage to the Sunken City. But what about Titans? The latest expansion, Titans. Is there a story to Titans expansion? And overall, it looks like there is not really a storyline, an overarching storyline through the Titans expansion. It's more like just a snapshot of time, of an ancient time in Azeroth's past, and description of what the world was like at that point. Although there are also several inconsistencies. For example, the Titans themselves. Like, who are the Titans anyway? Titans are supremely powerful beings of the force of order. There are 6 fundamental forces in the Warcraft universe, and Titans represent the power of order. And why are Titans on Azeroth? Titans are world souls that slumber within planets until they wake up, and they are on Azeroth because Azeroth is actually a slumbering Titan. And they want to make sure that Azeroth has everything Azeroth needs in order to wake up to be a productive member of their pantheon. Because the unborn Titans are vulnerable, and especially the power of Void is trying to corrupt unborn Titans into their machinations. Another example of an unborn Titan who is corrupted is actually right here in the form of Argus, although this is what an uncorrupted Argus would have looked like, but that never existed. At this point in the timeline, when Titans were at Azeroth, Argus was still a slumbering world soul. It would only be later when Sargeras would corrupt Argus with the power of death, and then turn that into a very corrupted Titan. And here is Sargeras. Sargeras, the firstmost fighter among the Titans, but he became convinced that ultimately the power of the Void is going to win unless all life is eradicated. So Sargeras allied himself with the power of Fel, of disorder, and started his burning crusade. And this is Sargeras in his corrupted form. So Sargeras is already affected by Fel. At this time the other Titans don't know about that yet, but Sargeras has been corrupted. The other Titans are ordering Azeroth to the best shape possible. Although several of these Titans here are either not Titans or made up or not present at Azeroth. Sargeras obviously corrupted, being somewhere on the complete other side of the universe. Then we have Argus. Argus was never in this uncorrupted state. Argus was just a slumbering world soul at this point, and then would later be corrupted by Sargeras. Then we have Primus. Primus is not a Titan at all. Primus is from the Pantheon of Death. He's an eternal one, being comparable in power with Titans, but from a different order, the Order of Death. And then we have Amithus and Voltron Prime, who are fictional, invented for Hearthstone. They don't really exist in the lore. The other Titans, we have Amantul, Aeonar, Golganet, Norganon, Agramar, and Kaskuroth, and they are the real Titans, the ones who are actually putting in work right now to make sure that Azeroth has everything Azeroth needs to survive. We have been told that Titans takes place shortly after the defeat of Old Gods. Well, what are Old Gods? Old Gods are servants of the Void, but beings of less power than the Titans. And these 4 Old Gods had found Azeroth, and under instruction of their leaders, the Void Lords, they were trying to corrupt the unborn Azeroth into a Dark Titan. But the Titans fought against the Old Gods and won, beat them. So Yashuras at this point is dead. Yashuras was killed by the Titans, but Yashuras' death had such severe effects on Azeroth that the Titans didn't dare to kill the others. They were afraid that Azeroth is also going to die if they just kill all the 4 Old Gods. So Yogg-Saron is at the moment present in Ulduar, Khotun is present in Silitus, and Nezoth is imprisoned beneath the seas. So the other 3 Old Gods are safe and sound, locked away. Obviously they are constantly trying to gnaw at their prisons and trying to release themselves and trying to get some more touch to the outside world, which they will succeed eventually in doing. But right now, with the Titans still on Azeroth, this is a moment when the prisons are still very safe and sound and the Old Gods are incapable of doing anything. Then again, we have some slight inconsistencies with the timeline here. Loken, jailer of Yogg-Saron, eventually going to be the first keeper that will be corrupted by Yogg-Saron. Well, Yogg-Saron is trying to free himself up and corrupt the jailers. But at this point, Loken should not be corrupted yet. Sif is still alive, and Sif's death was one of the key events that caused Loken to fall under corruption. Yogg-Saron was already affecting Loken's sleep before Sif died, but Sif's death was one of the final straws. So some inconsistency to the timeline if you think that Loken looks very, very corrupted there. Like they could have went on and told a story about Loken, about Sif, about Thorim, for example, one of the big story arcs, Loken's eventual betrayal of the other keepers, but they haven't really done that. Not that some of the cards couldn't be spun around to tell a story. My favorite story among this limited material is actually this Kayamite creation. That being right there is actually a proto-goblin. Because Mimiron experimented with the mineral Kayamite, and mineral Kayamite was enhancing primitive beings, giving them greatly enhanced intellect. And there was a primitive race that Mimiron experimented with that was native to the planet of Azeroth, and Kayamite experimentation on that race eventually resulted in the creation of goblins. So goblins are a warped form of a race native to Azeroth, unlike many of the other sentient beings that we see on Azeroth right now, which are actually later on generated from Titan-forged beings through Old God influence and the curse of flesh, like humans and dwarves, for example. Then we also have some strange beings that don't really have a place in Warcraft lore, like this Saronite Tol'vir. Tol'vir were originally made of stone, and then when they were corrupted, they became flesh, so they were never really made of Saronite. And Saronite, in turn, is a metal that's actually related to Yogg-Saron. It's corrupted metal influenced by Yogg-Saron's trying to break free from his prison. So at this point in timeline, Saronite did not exist because Yogg-Saron did not have that much influence over the world. Saronite only existed tens of thousands of years later. And then we have Forge of Wills. Forge of Wills is a very, very interesting Titan artifact. Titans created two forges, the Forge of Wills and the Forge of Origination, with which many of the species that we know of were actually created, and which had great powers to shape the fate of Azeroth. We only have the Forge of Wills here, we don't have the Forge of Origination, it's twin forge, so there could be some tales that could be told about this later. But overall, Titans expansion, like, it's a snapshot in time with inconsistencies here, inconsistencies there, but no overarching story. Maybe they could get us a little bit of a story with the miniset though, because the next major event, now Titans have defeated the old gods, the Titans will eventually depart Azeroth and leave keepers in charge. Once the keepers are in charge, there's one major event that's going to happen, and that's going to be the rise of Galagrond. Because this is time when Galagrond originally rose to power, and Galagrond was defeated by the Keeper Tyr and the 5 dragon aspects, Alexstrasza and her friends, although at that point they were still proto-dragons, and then they were turned into dragon aspects as a reward for the part they played in defeating Galagrond. So possibly if they wanted to make a little bit more story-oriented miniset, then in the miniset we might see the tale of Galagrond and the proto-drake Alexstrasza, and that would be one way to advance the actual story. But as it stands right now, Titans expansion doesn't really have a storyline, it's more like just a snapshot in time of the ancient past of Azeroth. Thank you for watching. Click like and subscribe if you enjoyed this, and a special thanks to all of my Patreon supporters, YouTube members and Twitch subscribers who make all of these videos possible.